I'm Marc White and I'm the founder, owner, chairman and manager of Dorking Wanderers.
No, it's definitely the worst thing in the division by far.
Yeah, we just proved it. We do.
I mean, honestly, it is a shambles. So, listen, they can ban me as many times as they want. I'll always say it's a shambles. We're aiming for the top three. That's the bottom line. So I'm going to say playoffs. Who's that next to us in Oldham?
So I'm pleased to be joined by Marc White on today's edition of the podcast. Marc, firstly, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Really good. Looking forward to a new season, mate. Refreshed. We didn't have a break last year, you see. We won the playoffs in pretty much, it was June. That was off the back of 2 years COVID, and then went back training about 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. So for once, I feel like I've had a break, but I'm ready to get back in the saddle, albeit I've got a suspension first to serve.
Yeah, I've had a few questions that have come in talking a bit about that. A bunch of amateurs and we'll talk about them in a bit more detail in a bit, but when I'm looking at them on TikTok and YouTube, there's been some hilarious moments this season with you. Do you enjoy that with, like, obviously you're quite well thought of at this division with other teams, a lot of people like you, and a lot of things that you've done, you've appreciated supporters, but you've sort of had a lot of exposure. Dorking is a football club, you yourself. Do you enjoy that?
Well, it's important to the club. We're such a small club. We don't have the heritage to draw on that other clubs do. We obviously at one point we didn't have any fans, and only about 7-8 years ago we probably had about 30. We're a brand new club, so the exposure, profile, everything, is great for us, and we massively appreciate that most people sort of get us. Really, we're not putting it on like we've always been the same. Like it's a kind of like park mentality in a sort of professional league. Really, we've tried to keep football real, and I think that is what people like about it. They resonate with that. They like the fact that they hear what really goes on, and so it's been great, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, it's not fake. That's something why I think a lot of people have been drawn to a bunch of amateurs, because, you might look at other documentaries and they don't show a lot of the details. I'm sure there'll be some private things that you just don't really show on there. But basically, I think everyone just appreciates it, the fact that, we see the changing rooms, we see what you say to the players, we know what your management style's like. So, Dorking fans can really appreciate, what you're doing behind the scenes and know what you're trying to do. Where you look at other managers, for example, Halifax, for an example, we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes because they don't like to really show that. And that's something that I think why everyone seems to love Dorking so much.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's refreshing honesty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nice that we can share it with others, and it's nice it's well received. Most people get it. There's no point moaning about Marc swearing too much. All managers do. No point moaning about Marc having to go out the fourth official. All managers do. The only difference is we're not afraid to show it and showcase it, and it's the real football bit that people prefer.
Yeah, we're going to talk a bit about some of the moments of the season and some of specific games, and obviously from what I've seen on a bunch of amateurs, but just on the talk of officiating at this division, I know one of the questions was how highly do you rate officiating or underrate it, to be honest?
No, it's definitely the worst thing in the division by far. It's across the board. I think we speak to EFL fans, they'll say it's poor. National League is appalling. And, if you look below where we came from, they can't even get officials anymore. But of course, it's always the participant's fault, and that's where they go wrong. They spend an eternity campaigning in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Everything they ever do is about the participant being wrong, and what they fail to recognise is the ways in which the laws of the game have got to be more consistent, more straightforward, left alone.
Yeah.
You've only got to look at the highest level with VAR. The laws are changed so often that even the very best officials in the UK don't know between them, with 5 minutes to talk about it, what to do.
Yeah.
It's a shambles. And what they want you to do, a bit like East Germany back in the day, is say nothing, get on with it. And they want to have some kind of like real, like closed shop. I feel passionately about that personally. Listen, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I overstep the mark sometimes. I've got I don't know, maybe I think 2 sendings off in 3 years, which is
it's not bad, really.
Relatively all right,
Yeah.
I'd say, especially bearing in mind how shit they are. But the real issue is the closed shop element of it. Ironically, just been invited to the National League AGM, and they'll be doing another presentation this year where they chat a lot of crap for 1 hour and don't take any feedback on board. This year, a couple of the things I saw were less yellow cards equal a ban now for a manager. So it was 4 yellow cards, is 1 game ban. Now it's 3 participant. And the other one was if you get sent off during a game, you can't do the interview afterwards, participant.
Mm-hmm.
They never talk about actually why have we changed the handball rule 4 times in 5 years? Why do we not understand how much time to add on mandatory? Why 2 years ago was it a yellow card to stop a quick free kick, but now we give 5 warnings? They never explain about how they're making officiating more difficult. Why, when someone goes round, it was double jeopardy 2 years ago. If a keeper brought somebody down, now it's not, but it is if he doesn't go for the ball. I mean, honestly, it is a shambles. So, listen, they can ban me as many times as they want. I'll always say it's a shambles. What they want to do is engage with people like me and many other really good managers out there that will help them understand what they think is going to improve the game. But they're not very good at listening.
No, I don't think
they're
really
great at hoping people listen to them.
Yeah, I don't think they take much responsibility from what I've seen. And don't get me wrong, at Halifax, I understand fans are going to, call for decisions. Even managers are going to call for decisions that probably were fair, and that's fair enough. But it's frustrating when you see decisions that are just constantly going against you. And it's not even the decisions; it's also like time wasting and how they just allow it to go on and on and on. And I know that's a tactical side of football nowadays, but it's still very, very frustrating how they give teams 3 or 4 warnings before they start pulling players up on it, and that's
but
booking.
Exactly that. And Luke, obviously, it was always a thing that people knew where they stood. Goalies used to have 6 seconds to kick a ball.
Yeah.
You knew that if your player or the opposition stood in front of trying to take a quick free kick, you knew you risked a yellow card, so you got out the fucking way, right? Yeah. They just keep pissing about with things, and listen, this is constructive. Their only answer is to keep writing to people like me saying you can't talk. Well, for an organisation, all they do is talk about equality and making sure everything's fair and equal. They when it comes to officiating, it's the polar opposite. If you say a single sausage, you get banned or fined. That's how it works. But so no, don't agree. Don't expect it to change. Like anything, mate, like traffic wardens, there's always a few good ones. Yeah. But in the main, it's a closed shop and a poor show.
The one away at Wrexham, I think you did like, though, didn't you, when you went there? I know you actually went to the pub before the game, and then you actually went and spoke to the officiating, and I think they didn't mind you either. So what do you think of them?
Well, I had fucking 2 of these Wrexham beers. I felt like I was on my holidays.
What, Wrexham lager?
Yeah, they were quite nice, And I felt the sun was shining. I felt like I was on my fucking holidays. And that's before the game. Yeah, he was all right. Listen, The best refs are the ones that say, Mark, shut the fuck up. I think I might have called it wrong. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We get on with the game. They won't do that, mate. That's half the issue. I've got no issue with them guys at all. It's the ones that back themselves the whole time. I mean, you get 4 officials. The 4th official bit is fantastic. That's even more broken than the laws changing. So you've got 4 guys wired up.
Yeah.
The 4th official is 2 to 3 league standard below the man in the middle. That's how they appoint them. Yet the way they work now is that the 4th official or the assistants will make judgment calls for the one in the middle. So you've got this dilution of what the bloke's actually doing in the middle. And you've got a bloke who's not as good or not to the standard saying, yeah, that's offside or that's not, or yellow ball, white ball. And it's ironically, they all agree with each other the whole time. It's fucking unbelievable. Literally, they always say, this was right, this was that. John said that because of this. It is a load of shit. Yeah. Total load of shit. Has to improve. The FA needs to spend more time looking at the real issues than keep punishing participants. That's my say on that, Luke.
Yeah, right. We'll move on then from that. But another issue that I know you feel quite strongly about from what I've seen as well is 3 up, 3 down. And I think most people do. I do. I think every single person in the National League does honestly want to add that additional place. What's your opinions on that and your argument to obviously add that extra one?
Well, I've got a couple of opinions. First of all, you may or may not be aware, but my understanding is that probably as many as half of the teams in the National League wouldn't pass an EFL application. The EFL standards and requirements are so much higher than the National League. One thing I do think has to be looked at urgently is to do away with this. It's very much an old rule whereby you get until March 31st of the next season to get your ground up to scratch. Because in modern world with funding and planning consents and stuff like that, it's just not enough time. And we've seen the likes of Harrogate and Sutton that have all gone up, that have had to ground share and be put under a lot of stress just to actually participate in that division. So first of all, I think they've got to go to a 2-year lag on ground grading. So I think that is much more reasonable. Because otherwise, my fear would be that in reality, 3 up, 3 down is what should happen, obviously. But you might get clubs in that playoff zone that realistically cannot get promoted.
Yeah.
Or would really struggle to stay there. I think the fact is it benefits everybody. I think one of the things I read that's interesting is it's like one of the big benefits you could argue is for those clubs coming down, if the league below is a bottleneck to get out of, it's almost to the benefit of the teams in League 2 if they go down into a division where it's easier to get back out of. Because we've seen a lot of examples of clubs that just, because of the bottleneck, they can't get back out. I think the EFL, they promote 4.
League 2, to League 1,
Yeah, so that tells you their opinion on, pyramid movement. So I think they should share that. I think they probably do. I think they just probably need to find a way of convincing their clubs.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it does actually go to a vote. And, I spoke to many people. I had Ollie Bayliss on, and he was talking about it. And the main problem is, like, the problems that you've put forward just there. But also the problem is the fact that it goes to a vote. And if you're in the Football League, it doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to vote for an extra relegation place, are you, realistically? Unless
Exactly.
you're a Stockport or even a Wrexham now who can really appreciate, non-league and understand where the National League clubs are coming from, because they know full well that they're never going to be back in the National League for a very long time.
I think there's ways that they can do it financially. I mean, if they put it on the table that, they're going to, reduce, their TV share or whatever, if they don't essentially vote for a better system. But, I think they need to do a couple of things. I think they need to, they allow hybrid pitches already. I think that should be extended for artificial, but they certainly should acknowledge it's going to be a lot easier to get back to League Two if they grant an extra promotion place, and that's really the selling point. But to your point, Luke, you're right. Most seasons, when you start a 24-man league, 20 of those teams think they're going to win it, so they're not going to vote for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably the upsetting thing, isn't it, at the moment, is the side in the league above. So something significant's going to need to happen in the future if there is any change. But unfortunately, from my perspective and from what, I've seen, just a normal fan, I can't really see it changing anytime soon. But who knows anyway. But starting the season and looking at the season as a whole, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, mate, we had no time to plan. So we decided not to sign anybody at all, even though we knew we had key players injured. We thought we'd try and ride out a season of consolidation. And we had a really good start with that. But then injuries hit us and we just couldn't cope with being so under headcount. We lost our star striker 4 or 5 games in. We lost our captain for 14 weeks, our best centre midfielder for 16 weeks. And having not signed anybody, we just couldn't cope with the lack of headcount. So in the end, we recruited. We sort of pulled forward our recruitment plans, which we would have done anyway. And recruited, changed a little bit of a strategy here or there. And I think we only lost 1 in the last 9 and we had a great finish.
Yeah, you had a great finish, to be fair, like you've mentioned. I know you started the division, and I think a lot of people expected this, but you sort of stunned the other teams, how you started, taking points off Chesterfield. You had a very, very good start, and, we'll talk about some of those specific events that happened in a second, but you had a good start. But then this is just me being honest now. I thought towards the winter months, you were starting to get a little bit found out and sides were starting to adjust to playing against you. And I was starting to feel like, oh no, I'm not too confident now. I know they've got a good manager and all that, but I can see them dropping into that relegation zone at some point. And you were sort of flirting with the relegation zone, if that's the correct word. You and Gateshead were down there, and it's quite ironic considering how you both ended up finishing. But it was that like February, March, and then April, and the finish that you had. Oh,
yeah, you're there, mate.
Oh, there we go.
I heard the question. I'll just carry on. Yeah. I mean, it was. Listen, it got hairy at one point. There's no denying that. I think we might have been in the relegation zone for like a day or something. But I always knew Gateshead wouldn't go down, so I was always looking at that. I always thought teams would get dragged into it. Listen, I think there's an element of teams knew how to hurt us, but we couldn't do anything about it. We didn't have the players really. So in the end, we brought back Jason Pryor, prolific striker. I think his goal rate, if he'd have played the whole season, would have seen him score 30 goals. Tony Craig, prolific record in the Championship and Football League. George Frankham, Aaron Kuehl. So we was quite, I'm going to say, diligent. The club worked hard off the field to raise money to bring in these players. And now we start next season with those players and the return of other players. So we're in a really good shape.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. And I'm sure next season, that would come on to my next question. Next season, what would the expectations be? Would it to be consolidate again? Well, more to just survive? Would it to be push on to a higher finish? Or do you think you've got the potential to be in those playoff spots?
Yeah, honestly, we're aiming for the top 3. That's the bottom line. Write us off at your peril. We've been there, done it, worn the T-shirt. No one's evidenced it more. I definitely think this is a division whereby you can get your ass smacked and get a lesson taught. So we could easily end up, flirting lower mid-table again. Obviously, we've got to get some luck in terms of keeping boys injury-free. We've got a slightly new structure that's going to add in lots of benefits. We're training a couple of mornings now. So we've done away with the evenings. That's quite a big sea change for us. We've got a brand new head coach. And like I said, we signed lots of boys at the back end and boys returning. So you know, a year's knowledge under our belt and all the above, honestly, we're aiming to be in the mix. That's the bottom line. I don't think you'll get two teams as dominant as Wrexham and Notts County in a long time. Not disrespecting the league or any clubs in it, but where I'm at, our aims are high.
Yeah, and I think they have to be, you know, when you think of Dorking and how they've risen, you know, since they've formed, to be honest. Of course, the National League, it's a massive step from the National League South. I always have this opinion that the North's stronger than the South. Maybe that's just me being a bit arrogant coming from the North. But when you got promoted, I was confident that you were going to survive. But I didn't expect you to first season be up there. I expected it to survive, and I think that's what most people did. And I think it is an unbelievable achievement. But now for you to make that step even further up, it's something that I'm sure yourself and a lot of Dorking fans will think, well, that's what we've got to do. That's our motto.
Pedigree. That's what we do. That is what the club does. 12 promotions in, I think, 23 years or 22 completed seasons. And that's a proud record. It's what the club does. We're nowhere near ready for it off the field. But that won't stop us, you know, really, really setting our standards high. That's where we are this division this year, mate. That's the kind of DNA of the club. That won't change.
Yeah, nothing stops Dorking, does it, when they're trying to rise up the pyramid after all. Even injuries last season. I'm going to be honest, I'm not just saying this because you're here. Any other manager in that division last season with the injuries that he had, I would say Dorking going down. But obviously yourself and what you've done there, I think you're the reason that they've probably survived once again. And I do think there are some brilliant individuals in that Dorking side from what I've seen, and players that I think can play at a lot higher level.
Yeah, we've got a big squad this year. We've got a big squad. And when I looked at it on paper with Ross McNeely, our new coach, it is a brilliant squad. You know, we've got 4 to 5 strikers. You know, we're really excited about this year. So, listen, I think the fans, the management team got the team over the line. That sort of wondrous spirit, if you like, never say die. The club worked hard to bring in new players. For a small club, that's not easy. I do resonate with, you know, teams in this division on low resources because it's not easy. But we're in good shape now, mate, and we're going to enjoy it. We're definitely going to keep enjoying it. But listen, we'll be nobody's fucking pushovers this year. If anyone thinks, oh, we're playing Dorking, they're weak at the back, you know, it made me laugh. Like, you know, back sort of 9 games, I think we might have let in a handful of goals in 10 games. You know, I think we went 4 games with clean sheets. So the team's changed completely. The dynamics changed, and you know, we can't wait to get going. Someone sent me a thing last night where we're 50-1.
Yeah. The odds are stupid. I think they've put Rochdale as favourites. It's like, what?
Yeah, I know. But listen, it is a league you've got to respect. A lot of great coaches, managers, and we are still learning, but we're not going to change the way we think.
Yeah, I think there's better managers. There's more better managers in this division than there is weaker managers, which is something that's quite rare, I think, in football. You know, I can't honestly, off the top of my head, think of a team going into this pre-season thinking they've got a poor manager. You even look at sides like that have got relegated, like Hartlepool. They've got who's John Askew's the manager.
Great manager, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. And I do want to talk a bit about the managers, but if we sort of go a little bit further back to the start of the season now, that first game against Chesterfield, I want to ask you more about the experience of playing Chesterfield, then bringing a large following, something a little bit unknown to someone like Dorking. And then, of course, you I saw in the Bunch of Amateur series you confronted Paul Cook, didn't you? What was that like, speaking to someone that's sort of took a totally different route from you, being in the Football League for the majority of his managerial career, to someone from you who's risen from the lower leagues all the way to the National League?
It's just fantastic, you know, like the club are quick learners and we're not arrogant, you know, we're not afraid to be determined to stick with what works and what we know, but equally you want to learn. Paul Cook, great guy, funny guy, gentleman, you know, been there, done it. you know, and you listen to everything you're told, you take it all on board. And like anyone who's developing in any situation, there's always something you take out of any conversation and think, yeah, fair point. And then you sort of stick with your principles and you adopt and grow as you go along, listening to and learning. But I think there was an element of you know, sort of window shopping initially. I think there was an element of, oh, blimey, you know, I think all those away games, it took until deep into the season to stop looking at the crowd and thinking, blimey, it's busy here today.
Yeah.
That was definitely different to us. So I feel like we've got rid of all those first, if you like, that we've not been used to, and we're now sort of just going to be accustomed to that.
Tell you what, I was impressed by when I went to Dorking, and I'll talk a bit about my experience when I went there, but I was impressed by the fan base and how passionate it felt like they were when we went there. Like, I was not expecting that from a side that's fairly new as well to the National League. I thought that's a quality fan base, that, and I've seen some of the typho displays that they've done behind the goal as well.
Yeah, I mean, they were just lucky. You know, the club's really lucky because they just get it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they just get it. They understand that, you know, we've got to always be the underdogs, like, you know, because you can't build a team from a park league, jumpers for goalposts, and not be the underdog, no matter where you are. So they really get it. And it was almost like the worse it got, the better they got. It was like they knew their role. Phenomenal support home and away. And not just the local people, but through a bunch of amateurs, all of the people around the country that like follow the club. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We'll go to Gateshead and get 40 people that love the club that live in Newcastle. And that was the case all over the place, York, etc. So we're very blessed to have that following. And, you know, I feel like there's a people can resonate with it being this sort of fairy tale story.
Yeah.
And as in all fairy tales, you don't want them to end. And I think that's what people like about it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I know there's a lot of my mates at school, and they're like, "Oh, have you seen that Dorking documentary that you've done?" I said, "Yeah, I've seen that. It's our level," and it's what I mean, where, you know, people from my school are seeing it on TikTok, and it's just getting even more exposure year on year. And, you know, to have that fan base behind you that I think Dorking do have now, it's only going to back you even further when you hopefully rise into the EFL one day. I think the next game then that was sort of a big occasion was obviously meeting Flapcap Frank at Oldham. What was that like?
Dill Frank, I called him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant guy. Like, I feel like my mates, I went to their end of season thing, and we had a beer, all the fans, and Frank and David was there, and a few of the players, Yanni, etc. And listen, I just love the story. The relationship between the clubs it was just very weird. It was our first ever TV game in club history. It was away at Oldham, Boundary Park, obviously an ex-Premier League team, and it was Frank's first game in charge. And Frank's got people singing the national anthem. He's got brass bands marching through the streets, and all the fans on this beautiful day came back to watch their club almost rise from the ashes because Frank's taken it over. And it was just great to see. We outplayed them that day, but lost, as Frank would remind me. But I almost wanted them to bloody win. Like, it was such a great day for them. Like, all the fans in there, and it was their homecoming. So yeah, we built a bit of an affiliation with them. And me and Frank, like, we're opposite ends of the spectrum, but got a lot in common, as he says. And that's a great relationship. We're looking forward to this year, and I've promised that when we play them, I'm going to walk out in an inflatable rhino outfit. In person.
I heard that you're going to be. I heard that apparently.
David Unsworth.
I heard apparently that you're going to go as Dorking's mascot to the first game of the season.
No, well, I want to. Well, I might do because I'm suspended for 5 games. So on a stadium ban. So the only way I can get in is to dress as the Dorking cock, the Dorking mascot.
Yeah.
So I'm considering it, and I'm considering whether or not the referee wants to check who the mascot is.
You'll be there. Let's put it this way, I'm guessing.
Well, I'm not allowed to. I want to stay in the fan loop, so I can't possibly be in the ground.
Yeah, between everyone who's watching anyway. I'm sure you will be there somehow. But no, next one that we've got then, I think it was probably then, it would have been Notts County at home. And that was some statement because, of course, Notts County, I think, were actually undefeated at that point. I think they'd already played Wrexham and beaten them, played Chesterfield, got a point against them. So you were the first side to beat Notts County, and only 3 sides did that all season. What was that like, and what sort of occasion was that like for you?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the fans, I mean, McShane scored a hat trick, and he's been with us 7 years. So, if he could choose one player to score a hat trick, it'd be someone who's been so loyal and part of the sixth journey. Do you know what? In a real football irony way, the reason we won that game was because we actually respected the opponents, whereas we didn't really many others. And I think that's why we got our asses handed to us on many occasions. We just thought, it is what it is. We'll just play the way we play. And against Notts County, we actually sat deep and we hit them on the break, and we actually respected them a lot more, which ironically, when we got to those last 12 key games, I just fully changed the plan to make sure that we got results. And I always knew that, you might think this is daft, and, people that know me know this is the way I think, but, I actually do think it's the way we play, win, lose or draw. We're trying to build the fan base. I want to send them home with 3-2 wins. I don't want to send them home with long ball football, 1-0 off the arse. And so there was an element of the season where I thought, we'll be fine. We'll just keep doing what we do. But then when we needed to, we tightened up and we weren't stupid. But the Notts County game, listen, I mean, world's oldest club in Dorking, little market town, full house, 3-1 win, stuff dreams are made of. What a memory.
Yeah, I know some other games as well, and not really about the football side of things, but what was it like meeting sort of managers that have kind of come from the same sort of position that you've been in, with Stuart Maynard at Wealdstone, Phil Parkinson at Altrincham? What was it like going to Wealdstone being part-time and Altrincham previously being part-time? What was it like Maidenhead, another club with Alan Devonshire? What were that like?
Yeah, it was just great to see all the... I think that was the learn, wasn't it? Like, to look at all the different... There were some real synergies with those teams that were part-time and what they were doing. And it was great to see the range of players that the clubs on lower resources were recruiting, the young pros, the style of play for the teams with the lower budgets was, very similar, territory based at times. And so, it was great. It was a real eclectic, if that's the right word, view on the league. You had Wrexham's, Notts Counties, and, beautiful footballing teams, and Chesterfield, big club. And then you had other clubs that Aldershot, Woking, very local to us, that very local. And it was interesting to see sort of where they are. And I think the league is a real mixture. It's ironically, it's part non-league and part EFL, isn't it? That's the bottom line. So, there's some of the non-league teams really stand out. This year, I think, can be very difficult. Fylde, Ebbsfleet, decent sized clubs coming into that league.
Yeah, it's going to be so open this season. Another, I think, day to remember for you was that Wrexham game away from home. Not just because of the occasion and the support, but I know you were interviewed by Welcome to Wrexham. What was that like?
No, I think they're doing a whole episode on us. That's what they're telling us. They actually recorded us at training on the Thursday, and they followed us on the day. Milos, the main man there, was amazing. Humphrey, we felt privileged. They almost wanted to show sort of like the other side of the coin and this sort of club with this storyline. So I believe they're doing an episode, which will be brilliant exposure for the club, and it'll also be fun because we had a lot of fun with that in preparing for that game. Listen, we actually went there, played really well. I think we had like 67% possession or something, and as was similar in other games, we just conceded a couple of silly goals, but we played really well in front of a big crowd. won over lots of Wrexham fans. It's another club we've got a brilliant affiliation with. Oldham and Wrexham were the two club we had a great affiliation with.
Yeah, and I think that day, if I remember rightly from when I saw the highlights, you just were. I think they were just clinical, weren't they, with their players, and that's what you've got. That's the difference between this level. It's like us when we play. Although we beat Wrexham at home, that first half we dominated it, and then they just had one attempt, and Paul Mullin, someone like that, and it goes in, doesn't it? And that's probably where the difference I suspect on the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And we've had that over the years. We've had it over the years. We've won divisions by 25 points by being unimpressive, but just for having the best players in the league. And that is how it works, trying to win a league. People always say, what's the best tip to winning a league? Well, it's not rocket science, is it? You get two blokes that can score 50 goals, 60 goals between them. Yeah. And certain players do come with that guarantee. And, Paul, Mullin, Ollie Palmer, Dalby at Wrexham, Elliot Lee just behind them. They had that level of goals in the side. So, yeah, mate. But no, great experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it was another game as well. I just remember off the top of my head because of the significance of you winning that game. Torquay at home, 2-1 down. I had a feeling that, well, I think everyone were thinking they do have the potential to come back, but 2-1 down at home in such a significant match, it took so much, didn't it, to come back from that, to win 3-2.
Yeah, comebacks are sort of our thing, really. That they have always been. It's that never say die spirit. That's the DNA at Meadowbank in particular. When we're kicking towards our fans, they tend to suck the ball in second half. The year before we came back from 3-0 down against Dulwich to win 4-3 down there. We've had countless Maidstone last season, 2-1 to 3-2. To your point, Torquay, 3-2, and I guess that's what we do. Like the boys, we don't change a lot of players, Luke. Because if you keep changing players, they won't run through brick walls last 20 minutes. They really won't. I mean, I know some do, obviously, but in general, if the players you keep love the club, they will go the extra mile for you, and that always shows in matches with us.
How long has Bobby Joe Taylor been there? Because I know when I've watched the documentary, he must have been there for a long time now.
No, not really. He's about to be in his third year, but Bobby's never stayed anywhere too long. No one's ever accepted him, but I've took him in. I've took him under my wing. I've changed his career, as I keep telling him. He's an unbelievable lad, and he's brilliant on the field and off the field. And of course, in any football club, that's what you need. Yeah. So he can play in several positions, and he really cares. And on that Maidstone game, he scored 2 headers. He'd never scored a header in his life. He scored 2 headers to win the game. I couldn't believe it.
Who was it who were marking Disa Uwe in that game at Halifax? And he were like half the size of him. Was that Bobby Joe?
Oh, my God, I'm not sure, But most people are half the size of him.
Yeah, to be fair.
He's a big lad, yeah. But we're a different proposition now. Doesn't guarantee us anything. But, I'm looking forward to a fast start, to be fair. We're not really playing anybody pre-season. No disrespect of note. We never really challenge ourselves too high. We tend to like to hold it back a bit for the season. So, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I know. Just one final question before we move on to some predictions. Someone did actually send one in saying, if you could sign one player from any other club in the National League last season, who would you have at Dorking?
One player from any other club?
Yeah. Last
season? The obvious answer would have to be Paul Mullin because he scored all the goals. But I think Rodriguez was the most impressive for Notts County.
He's just gone to Oxford now.
Just gone to Oxford, yeah. Obviously, this is the thing people forget. Everything comes with a challenge. All of them boys that have done brilliantly, we've had it over the years, they're all in demand, aren't they? And unless they're going to open up the budgets and stuff, it's not easy to hold on to players, even if you're a promoted club. But he was a great player, but there's several great players in the league.
Yeah, I can vouch for that when you say that. Likes of Langstaff as well, so prolific last season.
Yeah,
Even plays at I like that Bromley defender Omar Sawamia. I think he's a
yeah.
quality player.
He's built like an absolute brick
Yeah,
shithouse, and you've got a couple of lads at Gateshead,
Greg Oller, he's one.
Ollie and the other boy Campbell, great players. There, your boy is it Ali?
Miliali, yeah,
Yeah, you
the
know
magician as we like to call him.
exactly like we call
Yeah,
McShane the magician.
yeah,
And you know, you could probably get 3 or 4 really good EFL teams
yeah.
with the best players in that division, and it definitely become a bit of a hotbed for young pros to establish themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the teams with the lower resources are, are operating, and it works. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I know our sort of recruitment policy is we're always going to lose our best players every season. We'll try give them the best possible offer, but we can't hold players back. But what we're known for has been a bit of a stepping stone. And every season we recruit players from the lower leagues or rejects from the Football League, and hopefully one year it'll come off like it nearly did the previous season. And I think that's what a lot of clubs seem to be following at the moment. But like I
Yeah,
said, with Dorking, what surprises me is how you keep this squad together, because you can understand why they want to stay at the club because of what's going for them, the manager they play under, the project there and everything. And that's something that, Dorking have behind them, is that they do, not with everyone, but the majority of players, they can keep players at the club.
yeah. I think the thing is, like, the fans make a big difference, and I think that's where it's a shame when clubs that drop down the divisions lose their sort of fan base, because but obviously that's normally down to the ownership and how much the ownership want to connect with the community. But clubs are there before and after bad owners, before and after bad spells, and you kind of wish that people stay loyal to their teams. The problem you get is, if you're a club like, I'm not speaking ill of the Deborah Halifax and stuff like that, because I actually don't know the full history, but if you spend 10 years not doing too much and the fans disconnect, well, there's a decade of people that end up supporting Man United or Man City.
Bradford even.
And so you actually lose your sort of target market. So I think it's, the one thing I do think is important is that the fans' connection with the club, win, lose or draw, is there. That's what we've got. The players want to play for the fans. I think that's a big part of them being there.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That's the problem with Halifax, is the fact that we've clearly got that fan base. We have the potential of that fan base. We've got the facilities with the stadium and everything. We've got the history of being the former Football League side, but for some reason those gates don't seem to consistently rise. I know Wembley, we took nearly 9,000 it was there, after quite a mediocre season in the league. But then, we could be playing Dorking on a Tuesday night and we're getting 1,400 there, and it's a bit like...
But it's just not knowing your target market. Like,
Yeah.
There's 9,000 people that are bothered about Halifax, but which but it's all about the sort of getting the families in and stuff like that. And it's about initiatives, obviously, that drive that through schools and looking at, what it's going to take to get people in there. But listen, it's easy for me to say, I've got loads of great people around me, and a lot of clubs now are run by 2 or 3 people, especially if they've ended up being a fan-run club and they're voluntary. So we do, obviously we respect the fact that. But what I would say is with fans is that also the fans can do something about it. Fans can step up and support us trusts or supporter groups, and there's loads of things that the fans can do. But fans should always remember, a bit like the Oldham fans, is that the club is the brand. It's going to be there before and after all the bad news and good news. So that's got to be remembered.
Just needs something to happen, I think, from just something to just come out of nowhere, a bit like Wrexham. And you never know where we might be. But I think something you'll be wanting, just talking on Halifax, is to have a new pitch for next season. That's something that I would say.
Have we got a new pitch?
No, we haven't, because the council are awful.
I know,
So
it's
that's
such a
something
shame,
as
isn't it?
well. Yeah,
It's
that
such
was
a
a
shame.
nightmare. That.
How on earth councils can deny? I mean, if it was artificial, you know, it would pay for itself in 5 minutes. I mean, I can't even imagine what type of council doesn't understand the community benefits of that. I mean, that must be a council seriously disconnected with the world, let alone Halifax.
Well, it's like the catering as well, and just everything seems to be just wrong with Halifax. And I don't even blame the club or the owner or anything. I just blame a lot of it on the council, and it's just such a shame because there's clearly potential there. I think we'll move on to the predictions then. There we go. I've got it here then. Oh, so this is it at the moment then. So you put Bromley in top 7.
I've got Bromley Bournemouth up there, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Gateshead is sort of. I mean, listen. By the way, any managers listening getting offended, I'm answering the question because I'm not a coward. I don't back out of questions, and obviously I might be completely fucking wrong because what do I know about football? Yeah, Ebbsfleet, interesting one. Interesting that one. If Dennis watches this, he probably will. We've got a great relationship, by the way, with Ebbsfleet. Interesting. I'm going to put them in the survival bracket. I'm on the hook here, and I Halifax
it's a difficult one.
Halifax survival bracket.
Oh,
yeah. Dorking Wanderers playoff chasers, I think. Aldershot, I'm gonna have in the survival part. I'm gonna shout the teams in my way. I'm guessing on a few of these, by the way. I'm gonna say Hartlepool. I'm gonna put up in the playoffs. Rochdale, I'm gonna say mid-table. Fylde. I mean, the thing is, I'm not going to put, Luke, anybody in relegation. I'm just going to say,
fair enough.
So I'm going to put everybody in survival. I'm going to put that 18th to 24th.
Yeah.
I'm going to put in their Aldershot.
Yeah.
So they've got a great new manager. That's what I would say. Chesterfield, top 3, I think. I think Paul would say that'd be failure without that. Oxford, I put in that, I think, bottom group. I'd have to if I was a honest man. Eastleigh, I'm going to put playoffs for sure. If I'm going to tell you what I do. I'm going to push. I don't mind sticking my neck out of the top. I'm going to push Hartlepool to 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Chesterfield top and Eastleigh. I'm going to put Eastleigh in the playoffs, and Bromley in that 2nd and 3rd. Woody's going to love me for that. I'm going to put Woking in the playoffs because Darren is an exceptional manager.
Yeah.
Who else are we missing here?
We've got Oldham. They may be
one. I think we've got to put in that 18th to 24th.
Yeah. You know what to expect from them. You know, they have limited resources.
I'm going to put York there. I'm going to put York there, although they might listen. I mean, again, I'm not going to keep apologising for answering the question. But who are we missing, mate?
We've got Fylde, Barnet, Oldham, Southend, Altrincham, Dagenham, Kidderminster, Solihull, and Wealdstone. So you've got Oldham, who you might want to put like high up.
Yeah, Oldham playoff chasers.
Ooh.
Next to us, we can be together.
Together in an electric dream.
Yeah. Jesus. Solihull, I think mid-table.
Yeah.
Kidderminster, I'm going to put in that 18th to 24th. I've got fucking everyone there. I've got too many there now. I'll have to move.
No, I think 18th to 24th, so 6 you'd have, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you'd probably push one up.
Who's left, mate?
Fylde, Barnet, Southend, Altrincham, Dagenham,
Barnet chasers.
Yeah.
Southend is interesting because honestly, what the job he done, he had to be he was my manager of the year last year, Kev. To work under that pressure is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. I know someone was asking me to ask you about it. I knew it'd come up in conversation, but Yeah, I can't rate him highly enough for what he's done with the circumstances there.
Obviously there's a pending takeover, but you know,
Yeah.
a lot of things are pending at Southend. No disrespect.
Yeah.
And until it happens, you don't know. Difficult one, that one. Stick him in mid-table, mate, because who knows where that's going to go. Who's left, mate?
Fylde, Altrincham, Dagenham and Wealdstone.
Yeah, Wealdstone. Wealdstone, I'll put mid-table. I'm going to have to move people about.
Yeah, he'll. Yeah.
Fylde stick in mid-table for now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can measure these at end of the season and see how shit I am. Who's
No,
left?
I'll be doing them as well. They'll be better than mine and most people's, to be fair.
Who's left?
Altrincham and Dagenham.
Yeah, Dagenham mid-table for now.
Yeah.
And Altrincham just sticking mid-table as well. Now I'm going to change this around.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you see it from where you are?
Yeah. I couldn't see the clubs at the bottom.
Oh, right.
But I can see them all. So that's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to say playoffs. Who's that next to us and Oldham?
Barnet.
Stick Barnet in there for me, please.
Yeah.
Right. The playoff chasers. Jesus. I'm going to say in the 21 to 24. And
you don't have to do that if you don't want to.
I know, but I feel like my DNA is to just like not be a wimp.
Just do it.
It's nothing fucking personal. Like if you asked any manager, you'd have to choose. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stick in there York.
I'd agree with you at the moment on that.
Aldershot.
Agreed.
Oxford.
Agreed.
And Kidderminster.
Probably disagree with that one, but yeah, fair enough. Fair play for doing that, to be fair. And then
that, honestly, for all Kidderminster, Oxford, Aldershot fans and York fans, it's only a game. Please don't cry about it. And your job now is to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's stick in the playoff chasers. Let's who's that next to Fylde?
Southend or Wealdstone?
Wealdstone, yeah. Move Wealdstone down survival bit, please.
Yeah.
And we got one to go up. Who's the far right one?
On on the
mid-table, sorry.
Altrincham.
So it's Altrincham, Southend. No. Who's next to that?
Next to Southend?
Yeah.
Solihull, and then there's Fylde on the right.
Yeah, next to Fylde on the right.
Dagenham.
Interesting, isn't it? So interesting that. Okay. Push Solihull up one, please. Push. I'm going to say push Ebbsfleet up to mid-table. Because I think Dennis needs more respect than that. I'm going to say Jesus Christ.
I think you've got 2 more in playoff chasers.
Have I?
9, yeah. You've got 2 more in there.
Oh, shit. Put Gateshead in there. And then we need one. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th you've got.
So one more in playoffs, chasers?
Yeah.
Jesus. Stick Rochdale in there.
Rochdale. There we go. I think that's it confirmed. So you've got 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 20th. Yeah. And then in there, you've sorted it. That's your predictions there. They're not a bad set of predictions, them at early stages, considering a lot of...
Yeah, hold on, mate. I'm not happy yet. I'm a bit perfectionist, Luke.
Yeah.
I want Rochdale to go down to mid-table.
Yeah. I'd have Alty, but that'd be I'd probably push Alty.
This is it. I think he's done a fucking great job there, Parky. And he's done it with so many different players. Yeah, I mean, we'll swap him with do you know what? Put Ebbsfleet in there.
And then swap.
I'm going to keep. I mean, absolutely be winning the fucking league in a minute.
Yeah.
And just swap Kidderminster
Do not say Halifax.
with Maidenhead.
There we go. At the moment, that'd be my bottom four. I'd agree with you on that at the moment.
I mean, what we're underestimating here is, and this is the difference, right? So if you didn't look at management, and you just looked at sort of like, you know, the ether, if you like, that's probably where you'd be. But what I know is Oxford City have got phenomenal management. Dev knows how to stay in the division. The newly appointed Aldershot guy is fucking excellent by all accounts. And York City is an unknown quantity. I accept that. So you could easily, and this is why the clubs on the tin, like your Kidderminsters, that you think, well, they're not going to go down, good resources. This is why they do, because there's so many good managers and management teams. And you made that point earlier. I mean, I could easily argue that if it goes wrong at Southend, they will be in the bottom four.
Yeah. Rochdale even could be a few similarities with Scunny, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, Fylde, you sort of put there because they're a new club, and they might have the resources if they want. I know Ebbsfleet really well. I think he would have watched our league a lot. I think, but
they were good against us in the FA Cup.
I was there. I was at the game.
Yeah,
we played you the week after. But yeah, I mean, you at the same time you get this obligatory. No new teams ever really do well, so you've got to factor that in really. But I think the teams at the top are the ones with the know-how, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're the known market. So yeah, I'm mate, take a picture of that because it'd be interesting to see how many I get right.
Yeah. I'll screenshot it at the end of the season.
Out of 24, I reckon I'll get 16 right.
Fair enough. Backing yourself there, to be fair. But honestly, I don't think they're. I'm not just saying this. I do generally think they're not a bad set of predictions. The only one that I'm a bit like, and it might just be biased to here, would be saying Halifax just surviving. But probably even Bromley, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. But no one seems to be backing Hartlepool. But I don't understand why they're not, because yes, they've come down, but they've got a brilliant manager and they've got a lot of that squad that got promoted from this division still there now. So
yeah, I mean, I put Hartlepool up there. I think great manager, a support base that get behind them, make it a really good home venue. I think the Halifax is a good example. Like Millie, I really rate him highly. What a great season he gave for the club. But you're just looking at the dynamics of keeping the best players, and it's I've picked this really on, you know, not on management one bit. It's more so just almost the product and the marketplace. Do you know what I mean? And what's known about these clubs. So that's where we are, mate.
Fair enough. They're not a bad set of predictions at all, like I've mentioned. So thank you for doing that, because I don't think there'd be any other manager out there that'd even think about
Get that Darren on from Woking. He'll give predictions. I love that.
We'll do. Darren. You'll have to get me in touch with him. But
I'll send you his number and say Marc White said you'll come on and do predictions.
Should start making this regular. Get every single manager from every single team in the division and to do their predictions, and we'll see who's got the best. But got a few more final questions that people wanted to send in. This is a funny one. What celebrity TV show would you like to go on? A, I'm a Celebrity. B, Apprentice. C, British Bake Off.
Apprentice. I fucking love that. I'd fucking love winning that. I'd tell all them fucking moaning women to shut the fuck up in about a second.
The posh moaning people. Men. Yeah. You'd probably go out and win it. You just, what would you do?
I'd win it by fucking mile. There'd be no point the others even fucking bothering, honestly. And that's 100%. I actually once applied for that donkeys years ago and got turned down for being overqualified, genuinely. And I'm talking fucking 15 years ago.
Fair enough. What about how come not I'm a Celeb? Would you not fancy going on that?
Fuck that. Loads of my friends have been on that. And, you know, where, you sort of think they're bringing out dominoes at night and stuff like that, but they're not. Like, you basically starve, get bitten to bits, and have to do shit things. So not for me.
And not great British Bake Off either.
No, I can't cook, mate. Not unless they do a special microwave edition.
Fair enough. So yeah, Apprentice. Then what would your business be?
Oh God, I don't. Whatever, mate. I couldn't give a fuck. We can sell anything. So yeah.
Dorking pin badges.
Yeah, we'll work out exactly. We'll work out what it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Someone said, "Where do you get your hats from?" That could be a good idea.
Yeah, well, Capo, my mate's got a firm, Capo, and he's doing brilliant with that. Adam, ex Oldham player and Rochdale. His boys at Rochdale. He's a really good friend of mine, family friend, and he sorts us out the hats and that, and recently been getting some from Ego Kids, so as well, which is nice, mate. But yeah, the hats are trademark.
Would you ever consider getting any of these? These are mine. I've got that, which is a bit different to what you get.
Yeah, no, would I fuck?
No. Then we've got England.
Yeah, don't mind that.
This is my favourite. Right. Oh,
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'll get you one if you want.
I love that. Yeah, where's it from? Lovely.
It's from Milan.
Beautiful.
So you'd have to have that one, but no, yeah. I like that. To be fair, I just saw it in Milan. Thought, why
hats
not?
Are good, mate. Obviously, especially when your hair's in the departure lounge, Luke. You've got a few years yet. Do you know what I mean? But is your dad still got hair?
Yeah, he's still got hair, but like,
is it on its way out?
He seems to think so, but he makes a big deal of it. But I don't. I still think
that's the thing. As you get older, for boys, right, hair's a fucking big deal. So keep a good range of hats around you, mate.
Yeah, I will do. I like my hats, to be fair. We've also got another one saying, if you weren't a football manager or football owner, what would you want to do for a living?
Train driver. If money didn't matter, I fucking something like a train driver or a pilot. Like, I'm a very basic person. Do you know what I mean? So I've always loved things like that. That sounds like such a boring answer, but yeah, that's it.
No, I can't argue with that. I know we've got another one saying, if you had to give up Dorking for someone to manage your club, who would you have to manage it?
Whoa!
As in, like, the actual manager, not
Yeah. I mean, well, it would be somebody that I think there's a big difference between managers that understand football and those that don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of make-believe managers. You said it before, even in the league above and the league above that. Someone extremely loyal. Like, if I ever passed it on, you'd be literally passing on something as one careful owner for 23 years. So managers out there I can think of. You know, I look at Dennis at Ebbsfleet. I've got to mention, mates of mine, Dom at Horsham and Steve King, and mates of mine out there that, Hayden and that have done a great job. Like, I'm a loyal person. I like managers that are loyal as well. But equally, they've got to be able to play great football and understand football, because the way football is now, it's changing. And you've got to be part, analyst, part coach, part manager. You've got to really know the game now, inside out, or be surrounded by those that do. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's going to happen one day, mate. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? What a great sweepstake that'd be. Who would be the second Dorking Wanderers manager?
That'll be some news when that comes out, to be fair.
Yeah.
Someone sent you a message. Someone put in, this wasn't me, what's your go-to drink?
Oh, right. Champagne, I'd say.
Champagne?
Champagne or vodka and tonic. That's all I drink, really. That's it.
And then we've got the next one we've got. Which was the best away day last season?
I think we liked Oldham and Wrexham were the best away days. The fans were amazing at both venues. The club was amazing. Hard to top Oldham because of the homecoming and Frank and the hospitality with the Royals, etc. But Wrexham was great too. Very fortunate.
Favourite club in the league besides Dorking?
I think Oldham and Wrexham, but now in the league now, as it stands today, Oldham. We built really ironic. We built a good relationship with Woking as well, and Aldershot local teams as well. We thought it'd be a bit more fractious, but apart from the obligatory dickheads, we sort of established a good relationship with those as well, which was quite nice. But Oldham, we got a special bond with, and all of their boys that get behind the goal and that they're looking forward to staying up there. We
Yeah.
need to hope in the fixtures that it's not the first 5 games. Otherwise, I'll be just in a chicken outfit running around Boundary Park.
Oh yeah, you want to be going there, don't you? Definitely to Oldham.
Exactly.
Yeah, get an awful away day for first game of the season. Anyway, then we've got where does your tactical in-depth mind come from?
Well, it's obviously just learning, and the management team around me are great. They're really, really good. Anyone that's any good at anything in life never stops learning, never stops listening. And
yeah,
we've got a great analyst, a young lad from up north called Ant, who's amazing. John Field, who's managed that situation, scouting network, management team. We're just always listening, always learning, watching games. It's like anything. You've got to be a diehard, to do anything. You've got to be like a diehard at what you do. And that's what I am. I'm a diehard football nut. And the managers that aren't don't get too far. The managers that are really successful, they live, sleep and eat it.
Yeah, the ones that want to manage and want to take far, like you've mentioned, and obviously the ones that are most successful. You see a lot of this. Is something I want to ask you. These players that go into management. Do you think just because you're a player means that you're a good manager, or you're a better manager than someone that's never played?
Yeah, no, I think that's become a thing of the past to a degree. I think if you look at modern managers, you have to have a real astute awareness of the game tactically. I was so, impressed with Luke Williams last year, and he was out snookering people. This guy, he could have put out 2 teams of different quality and still outplayed every team. That's the way management is going predominantly.
And then we've got another one. We've got if you had to manage a Premier League side, or let's just say any other side apart from Dorking, who would you want to manage?
I'd love to manage a Premier League team or Championship club because obviously that'd be fucking great. I'd love to get into big time Charlies and fucking let them have it some, and that's a big motivation for me. That'd be a difficult one to turn away, to be honest. Lower leagues, that could only be Wimbledon because they're my club. But as I keep saying, Dorking Wanderers, we're going forward, aren't we? So that's the plan.
You might be playing Man City one day, European nights. You never know at Dorking where they've been going. Halfway there.
This is it, mate. We need a lot of luck off the field, mate. You need the local authority behind you. You need your local county FA behind you, and we need backing. But it is what it is, mate. We just keep plodding forward and trying to create these firsts and hope that we get I call it the Wanderers gods are looking after us.
Yeah, well, I think you are a great example of a side that's just rising year on year. And I think a lot of people have really come to terms with appreciating it now. But Mark, I think that more or less concludes the interview. Thank you for coming on and joining me and answering some quite difficult questions.
Yeah, get another manager who won't bottle it to do it.
Yeah.